episode of House of Decline, the show that's sometimes trans Joe Rogan and the show that's sometimes about documenting a music scene, John Peel style. But don't look at the middle. Well, you can look at the middle of John Peel's Wikipedia page. It's real sad. It's real sad once you get there. I didn't know that stuff. But anyway, we have a show. Anti-Spectacular has a show, which is my band, Anti-Spectacular, which has a show on August 12th at Dina's Tavern in beautiful Toronto, Ontario. And on this show, we have also booked a wonderful rock and roll artisan, and her name is Jacqueline Tucci. How are you doing today, Jacqueline?
I'm great. Thanks so much. Yes. How are you doing today?
I'm all right. The Blue Jays just acquired Soriano from the Angels. So I was very happy about that. You know, that was after we traded Kevin Gosman, you know, our wonderful bearded man, our wonderful long hair bearded man. But instead we got a guy. We're setting it up for next year. 2027 is the year.
That's our year.
It's going to happen.
2027 is our year. You heard it here first.
Yeah. So your music has this, would you describe it as shoegazy or would you describe it as something else?
That is a great question. I was thinking about this. I've been thinking about this a lot lately. I struggle with where to place our band. I think there are elements of shoegaze for sure, but also tons of influence from grunge and punk. Mm-hmm. And it's a little poppy too at times. So I kind of just like, it's shoegazy, grungy, poppy rock. Yeah. I think it's something like that.
No, it's eclectic in the way that lots of things are eclectic now because they're sort of influenced by everyone has these very multifarious influences, right? As a result of their tastes being curated by the algo.
Yeah. That's also something I think about. I like to think that hasn't been. Well, of course, I'm not like exempt from that happening, but I don't know if that's necessarily why my music comes out the way that it does. But I would say I have a varied influences. And yeah, I just never want to I've never been able to put myself in a box or only write one way. If I like a song that I'm writing, then, and I think it fits the band enough, then it gets, put into this project. And I kind of like that the songs aren't just one genre. I kind of like that that's always been a thing. So, but yeah, it's very true. It's getting harder and harder to define genre, I think.
Yeah, we had on Kipo on the last podcast, and what the fuck is that? At some point, you just got to say we're a rock band, you know?
Yes, that's exactly. I always just say we're a rock band called Jacqueline Tucci because, of course, it's not just me. This project did start as a solo endeavor. It was literally me with an acoustic guitar, but over time, it has taken a completely different shape. I still write the songs and I will create structures of parts, but I like that there's a band now and that they have so many beautiful, brilliant, creative ideas that we bring to the songs. So we're very much it's very much a band at this point, and yeah, but that's what I say, rock band.
Just rock. It's a freaking rock band. Exactly. I can definitely hear the touch of our mutual friend Ethan Feldman, who is the guitarist in your group, and he's a pedal monster. He's a real pedal monster.
Yes, which I love.
Yeah, there's something about that sound though, because and shoegaze is sort of like one way to put it, but there's like sort of this big, soaring, reverby, lots of space sound, and I find it interesting because it's juxtaposed with these lyrics that frequently deal with the isolation or the loneliness of a technology-based world. So it's like this big thing that is sort of over the backdrop of you in your room, doom scrolling.
Yeah.
Was that intentional or was that something that just developed naturally?
No, it wasn't intentional. I think it just developed naturally, but it's interesting that you say that and use the word isolation because I think it's my songs often are conceptually about that. I write about it a lot in terms of, technology and what that has done to the world, good and bad. But also, like, going back to what I was just saying, that the project really started that way. It always was me in my bedroom writing songs. So I think that there was a sort of isolation in a weird way until I sort of built up the confidence over time to like bring it out of my bedroom and bring other people into it. And I always wanted to be more collaborative in that way, but I really did have to work at building the confidence to show my music to people and to think that this is something other people would want to be a part of or whatever. And I think that when that's the origin and when that is the scenario in which something is being made, it comes through. Like I genuinely or generally tend to gravitate towards art that how it was made and the circumstances under which it was made come through in the thing, whether it's
Hmm.
music
Yeah.
or like visual arts, the studio it's made in comes through, or if it's like a pottery, like the person's hands. I really like when you can see the craft, and so I don't think music is exempt from that at all. I think that comes through. So it's, yeah, I think that that isolation makes sense. But in terms of the bigness of the music and the reverb, I think that's just a vibe that I also gravitate towards. I like things that are very atmospheric. I like daydreamy music because that's
Yeah.
how I like to listen to music too. Um, yeah, I think
Was
that's
there a specific band or set of bands that you were drawing from to establish this sound? Like, not to put you in
mhm.
the My Bloody Valentine,
Yeah,
pigeonhole you in the My Bloody Valentine corner, but it
yeah,
doesn't really sound like MBV either. It's got something different going on.
yeah.
It
No, and
sounds like
funny
a
enough,
bigger Liz Fair or something like that.
yeah, yeah. No, and it's funny. Like I love both those artists you just mentioned, but I wouldn't name them as major influences at all. Um, I don't know. Like it's interesting. I've said this before, but I consume so much music all the time. It truly is my passion. Like as a hobby, I consume just as much as I can, and I think like for that reason, it's hard to pin just a few influences.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? I think it's like a culmination of so much stuff. But there are some obvious ones too. Like I think I love grunge
Oh
music,
yeah.
and I think that if you listen to my songs, I wouldn't say we're a grunge band, but I think that if you go back and listen now that I've said that, you could say, oh yes, that I think that's there. Like Alice in Chains, for
Oh
example, is
yeah.
just
Yeah.
Jar of Flies in particular.
Yo. Yeah.
It's just like it's everything, right? So even like on the first three songs that I put out, I had recorded like all the parts. It was before I had a band, and even like down to on my song Fear, the way that I wanted to drum it, and I'm not a drummer by any means, so I'm
Yeah.
not sure how successfully I did this, but the way that I wanted to drum it, I was like, I want it to be like what's on Jar of Flies and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So um I think each song is built piece by piece, and there's influences unique to each piece. And so it ends up just being like Frankenstein of all the genres and artists I listen to, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, grunge is due. I think we are in the throes of a grunge revival or
You
something
think so?
that
I
takes,
hope so.
yeah, or something that takes the ethos of it. Because I
Yes.
think, along with there is an ethos embedded in your songs. And I think
Hmm.
even the mere act of like forcing yourself to do more live music and to push yourself out there,
Hmm.
even it comes through in your song, Burning Out as well,
Hmm.
where there is this like, real desire to get outside the isolation, and music is a vehicle towards that.
Yeah.
And the melancholy of grunge, the inherent like almost bluesiness of it,
Hmm. Hmm.
I think is really relevant now in an age where music tends to uh, uh, turn towards melancholy. It tends to turn towards that. There's a reason why all the Zoomers love Deftones, you know? Why
Yeah.
is that
Yeah.
captured the public imagination of young people so much? And it does feel like, you're persisting through this atmospheric dark world or whatever. And there are
Hmm.
these attempts to get out of it.
Yeah.
What about grunge to you was inspirational?
I think I love music that is both heavy and energetic, but also very melodic. And to your point, like in some way, emotional or navigating something or speaking to an aspect of the human experience. And even in my own music, like I think I don't I like writing happy upbeat music has never really come naturally to me. And it's funny because it's not that
Yeah.
I'm not a happy upbeat person. Like I think I like to think that I am, but that's not what comes naturally to me. And I think that like as much as I'm quite outgoing and extroverted, I think like one of the biggest things of my life is forcing myself out of just my own world, um, and into the bigger world. And I think that I don't know, just some of those grunge bands. I think whether or not that's what they were talking about, like that, it resonated with me. It's like just a lot of inner world in that music,
Yeah.
but also like such a profound community scene. And I
Yes.
think that that's something that speaks to me a lot is like you can be someone with such a rich inner world and enjoy your own company and want to go at it alone, but also like you need this rich community life. I
Yeah.
just truly believe in that. So I don't know. I think it strikes those two things really beautifully. And
No, I think that's what the other one of the aspects of grunge that was so beautiful is that it was very much tied to geography. It was very much tied to the
mm,
city of Seattle, and even
right.
like the weather and the
Yeah.
politics of the city inform how the music is perceived. And I think
Yeah.
that's also part of that burning out thing of that scrolling the screen and comparing yourself
Yeah.
to other people, as the lyrics say, where you're just detached from geography, you're detached
Mm,
from place, and which
hmm.
causes that intense burnout. And because I think that's what I hear in your music is that big sound represents that sort of desire to escape that
Hmm.
isolation as well. Or what do you think?
Um, yeah, definitely. And I think the geography thing is really interesting. I think though, like it's something I am a huge fan of Canadian music and bands from Toronto. Like I truly will always be on record saying that Toronto has and always has had incredible music scene.
T dot fucked up, huh? Rush,
Exactly. Oh my god, yeah, we're like pumping out incredible
Drake. No, not
artists.
that one. Not that one.
Yeah. But yeah, like Canada has incredible music, and in my opinion, I've always thought like such a sound, even across genres, you can kind of just tell when something is made
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
And I love that. So yeah, I think yeah, in terms of my own music, I'm not even sure if it was a conscious thing, but I think that I am very obsessed with the idea of like just being a part of the world around you,
Yeah.
being an active participant in your life and in your community. Um, and I think, and Burning Out is like quite literally about this, but some of my other songs are less literally, but also somewhat about this, is like it's something you have to do. It's something you
Yeah.
have to make a bit of an effort to do, and it's it in some ways like it's all stacked against us in the world right now. Like it's more and more challenging, and I feel for like like the really young people because I feel like it's almost in some ways like never been easier, but almost also never been harder to have real community, and but it's so important.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think there's like a great significance to the fact that your first recordings appear on Bandcamp during the pandemic.
Hmm. Hmm.
Did it start as like a pandemic project when you start? Have you been doing music all your life, but only started really
Yeah.
recording during the pandemic?
Yeah, no, actually, so interestingly, well, I don't know how interesting, but no. So I've been writing songs since I can remember, since I was really young, and I was doing this project started, yeah, like as a solo acoustic kind of thing. And I had put out a few like self-recorded things on Bandcamp, always just Bandcamp only,
Hmm.
for a few years, and then I came to a point probably around 2018, but for a couple years I had been so. I had mentioned to you before, I think before we started recording, but like I had worked in community radio
Mm-hmm.
at a campus radio station at the university I went to. And I had a show that was centered around the Toronto garage rock kind of scene. And I just was like, that's the music that I loved. And yet I was writing this acoustic type of thing. And it's not that I didn't also like that music. I love folk music. I love acoustic music. But I think I realized that I was doing the acoustic thing because it was a little bit safer, a little bit easier. And so I think around, 2016 to 18, I was like, no, I want to be writing rock songs again. When I was in high
Mm-hmm.
school, I had like punk bands. Like that's where I kind of started. But I
Mm-hmm.
hadn't been engaging with that for a while. So I was like, I want to write full rock songs again. So I started to do that. I recorded them with Austin from a Toronto band called the Effins, an incredible band.
Mm-hmm.
Just name dropping that. Check them out for anyone listening if you're not familiar. Anyway, I recorded the first few songs with Austin, and then I just sort of sat on it for a while. I didn't put them out. I sat on it. I had to sort of build the confidence up. I didn't know what I wanted to do with the project. And then I got to the place where I was like, all right, I'm ready. I want to put it out. I want to play shows. And the first song came out in March 2020. And there were no shows, no shows to be had.
No, oh no.
It felt like just the funniest, like the universe just like having a laugh, like,
Of
all
course.
right, you're finally ready to like do the band thing and play shows, and now you can't. But I think that's also like a very funny lesson to just like do things when you want to do them, because you really don't know. It's like your
Yeah.
time is not actually promised, so just do the things you want to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then the song started coming out in 2020, and that was that. And then we started playing shows after when we could, and then been putting a few more songs out and have more coming up shortly.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
What can we look forward to? What's the new song about?
Yeah, so we're gonna have a few new ones that I'm hoping to put out, but there's one that Ethan, our guitar player, Ethan Feldman, is currently mixing for us, um, doing a phenomenal job, and um, it is about, we're talking a lot about technology, and it is also kind of about that, um, about how these tools were, in my opinion, designed to, or have at least evolved to, in some way keep us sort of addicted to them and in a bit of a loop, a doom scroll, as they
Yeah.
say. But also, like, it's an escapist tool. It's a tool of consumerism at its worst. But at its best, I think we've seen now that these tools can be used to spread information and organize and build community and move the needle in an important way. And people who are really, I like to say, who have their hands in the dirt, really doing the work to make things better, they're using these tools in an important way. And I think that's like a really nice, I don't know, can I swear on this show? It's a
Of
really
course
nice
you can swear on this show. I'd be
view.
offended if you didn't.
Beautiful. I think using those tools for us, finding ways to use them for us to make our reality better, to make our world better for everyone, is the most beautiful fuck you to the people who have designed them for different reasons that are
Yeah.
less productive to our society.
Right, because we were also talking about this earlier before the show. Is that even though I am anti-tech as it is now, I don't think I'm a luddite. I do think I have benefited in my life from the fact that we have these amazing technologies. But the
Hmm.
problem is these things get introduced under
Hmm.
capitalism, and
Hmm.
they're used for their least noble aspects, right?
Precisely. Yeah.
Um, and is there a way to take this thing that has been promulgated to us by higher ups, designed to get us addicted and sort of isolated and consuming and not actually making anything? Is there a way to subvert that and turn it into something productive?
Yes.
And I guess both of our goals is just trying to use them to organize more IRL events is essentially the
Yeah.
is the use there. Like,
Yeah.
have you noticed your desire to do that increasing?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's as a result of tech or something, but I definitely do feel, especially as I age, like a desire to engage with those things less and engage with the outside world more. I like to think I've always had that, but absolutely now. But I think, to your point, like these, yeah, it's exactly that, like these tools being used in their for the worst possible thing that they could be used for, and instead just there has to be a way to flip it on its head and use it for the best possible thing, which is, like, yeah, in the song is kind of like the opening line is like, are you afraid of my doom scroll, like tools you made to
Yeah.
rewire my brain now blowing up in your face? Like that's sort of what it's about, is like, how can we, like, I'm, scrolling Twitter, seeing people at U of T camping out. Um,
Hmm.
and it's like this is a good use of this tool, because maybe I'm gonna get out of my house now and go join them and go support them,
Yeah.
or or organize some sort of fundraiser or something. And yeah, so yeah, that's a bit of a rant, but
No,
that's
no. I mean,
yeah.
because there's a question that you always face if, like, I'm a big commie, right? I'm like a
Mhm.
leftist. I want, well, if I were to give a name to my political ideology, it's incoherent, but vaguely on the left.
Okay.
Um,
Yes. Okay.
and I do. There is that old phrase, you can't dismantle the house with the master's house with the master's tools, right? But
Mm.
there is some, or even further, like the revolution will not be televised
Yeah,
by
yeah,
Gil
yeah.
Scott Heron, right?
Hmm.
But there becomes an issue with that when our major method of communication has become this all-encompassing media, and to
Hmm.
divorce yourself from that superstructure seems impossible. Or maybe
Hmm.
because we all have that dream of, we're going to cut away, we're going to the commune, it's going to be, we're going to
Yeah.
do subsistence farming, we're going to live off the land,
Yeah,
and
yeah. I threaten to do that like once a month. I threaten
yeah,
to just move off out of the
fuck it,
city.
we're moving to
Yeah.
Stouffville, we're
Move into a
moving to a
goat
farm in
farm and
Stouffville, yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
we're,
yeah,
we're going
exactly.
Letterkenny, but yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's sort of, obviously the reasons for that being unfeasible become quickly present in your mind.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
also think it's sort of, that is a sort of untenable Luddism as well, where you just end up replicating that right wing desire to return and like go back to like a
Yeah.
traditionalist subsistence farming thing, as opposed to like a world that is more industrial or urban, but in a
Yeah,
way that's
and
beneficial to its constituents.
for sure. And also, like, something I struggle with is not that I think I have any solutions or can be a like any kind of I don't know what my influence can be, or how much I can achieve in my life, but it's like, I don't have delusions about that, but it's like, I also think sometimes when I'm like, oh, I'm just so sick of everything, like, I'm just going to move to a farm. It's like, okay, that's great for you, but like, that's not helping anyone else. That's not doing anything for anyone else. And I do think in some way, like something that has been a driver through my entire life, and I think very much comes through in my art, is like, I feel an immense obligation that my life is not just to serve my wills and my whims and my needs and like my desires. It's like I also feel like we all have an obligation to, like, in however we can, like, make things better around us, even if it's just on your street, it's just in your community. And so that's where, like, yes, the revolution will not be televised, but also I think it's interesting that with these new technologies, and I will say perhaps less and less so, unfortunately, but like they have democratized in some way the dissemination of information. And I think perhaps like we have an opportunity where maybe the revolution could be televised, and
Yeah, yeah.
it probably should be. So like, I think that's my hope.
I mean, yeah, I think there is. I mean, the other thing that I think about a lot is why my band is called Anti Spectacular, is
Mhm.
because you ever read Society the Spectacle?
No, but that sounds familiar.
I'm not smart in any way, and there's a lot of actual
Find that hard
Marxist
to believe, but yeah.
philosophers that there's a lot of like actual Marxist philosophers that read more than I do, that
Hmm.
think the Situationists were a bunch of larpers, but there is that fear that I will say some sort of revolutionary message and it will get subsumed by the screen. And just seeing that message displayed will mollify people and it won't actually lead to praxis, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so then there becomes that extra push is like, what do you do to encourage people to, actually come out and be like a body in a space as opposed to experiencing this mollifying almost
Yes.
version of political action?
Yeah. And I think that is like such an interesting, yeah, it's a great challenge of our generation, not just using the tools in a way that isn't like turning us into zombies and just consuming, but also encouraging actual community involvement, not just like, I mean, there was obviously tons of conversation about this around like people, you just reshare content and that's enough, okay, job done. And it's like,
Hmm.
I don't think that's nothing. I think it's great to do that, but also, yes, to your point, like how to take that next step. I will say, to bring it back to being in bands, like I think shows and music scenes are perhaps like a great avenue for that kind of thing, because music is never just about music. Of course it's about having fun and having a good time, but in my view it's like also community spaces and bringing people out, and it's a place where we can talk and share
Yeah.
information about all
It's
kinds of
a
things too. It does not just We're not just talking politics or whatever, but also very much politics too.
Oh, yeah. Well, it
Yeah.
tends to congregate around a set of shared values, and often
Yeah.
those values are paralleled within the sound.
Mm-hmm.
Um, whereas grunge is this reaction to hair metal, right? This is like,
Mm-hmm.
how do we create something? And the attempt to approximate authenticity through music is always fraud because it's my favorite joke in the world. Honesty. If you can fake that, you're in, right? Um, and but there is that thing of like you can create an artwork that is more evocative of something that is in heavy scare quotes authentic. I think
Mm-hmm.
you hear it in Lane Staley's voice. Like this guy could have only expressed these feelings this way. You
Yeah.
hear it in that sort of intensity and uh, that lack of I don't know, what would you assign the quality of like a hair metal act like Poison or
Oh gosh,
um,
I don't.
Guns N' Roses? Like a
Yeah.
frivolousness, I think would be the
Yeah.
word, a
Yeah.
wanton frivolousness to the
Mm-hmm.
music, which
Sure.
is,
Yeah.
and not to like spoil anyone's like, if you like frivolous stuff, if you're a fan of Slater or whatever,
Yeah. No,
I
and look,
think,
there's a place for it all in society, right? Like,
yeah,
there's a place for something that is just fun or just silly or just like, not to say that that's what hair metal is or whatever, but like, just in general, like, there is absolutely a place for lightness and whatever, even like something inauthentic that just like is like, there's a place
yeah,
for it. Um, but I do like to think that people can sniff that out. And I
yeah,
think that there's a reason people constantly go back to certain genres or certain bands or eras. And I think that like when push comes to shove, people can sniff out the authentic versus not and gravitate towards one more than the other. I like
yeah.
to think. Um, yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think you see a process wherein someone like Cobain or Lane Staley or
Hmm.
any of these people develop a language to evince an emotional reality. But
Hmm.
then that language gets turned into a shorthand by other people that don't necessarily experience that same emotional reality, but want to convince you they're part of the same vibe,
Yeah.
which is where we get like post grunge, which is where we get like Puddle of Mud or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
ersatz version of this series of tropes that was developed in order to, as best as they could, event something real.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think this is something I also think about quite a bit, not just in music, but like there, I don't know. I mean, this just again exposing like how online I am, but there was
Yeah.
a really interesting Substack that I read that created this term taste slop. Have you heard of this?
No, what is taste
Okay,
slop?
taste slop. It basically, like, in a nutshell, talking about how through algorithms and the internet, things have been like extracted from their original context, and therefore, like, it just it stops being an authentic expression,
Yeah.
because it's out of context, and it just like nothing makes sense anymore. So like people will, this can be applied to anything, not just in music, but like fashion and other art, design. It's like you have just someone wearing like all kinds of stuff with no context of what it is, just because it's trending, or you know what I mean. and
Yeah.
and I think that like the same thing somewhat happens in music, but I think that I like to think that we can feel when it's like the authentic thing versus the taste slop version.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, I think it's like an interesting concept that I think about in all areas, not just in music. But yeah, I don't know. I try my best. I think I'm trying my best to just write what I like. And I think that there's like a bunch of influences that inform it. So it sounds like a mishmash of stuff, but I think the authenticity of it, I hope, comes through, you know?
I think it very much does.
Oh, thank you.
Well, it's also, yeah, I think that's like, and authentic is a very loaded term. It's like I
Yeah,
use
sure.
that
Yeah.
knowing
Yeah.
all the problems with the idea that we're just trying to be real. Well, you're playing guitars to be
Yeah.
real. So there's
Yeah. Yeah.
always
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
the inherent media of media, the fact that there's something in between you and the direct expression of just, saying
Oh,
something, right?
yeah. Yeah, I think we can all be so honest about that too, right? Like if I was
Mhm.
really the realist real, then I would still just be doing my music in my bedroom and that would be enough. Like obviously, I want to write things that people, like as well. Like it's not like
Mhm.
I'm never writing for that, but it's like,
Yeah.
I
You're
care about
not
it,
doing your,
obviously.
yeah, Henry Darger, Vivian girls just for
Yeah.
yourself and
Right,
nobody else. And
right.
then people come
Exactly.
into your bedroom at the end of your life. What the hell is this?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think like you make a valid point, and I think that yeah, that
I,
is.
but another thing you said, removal from context. I think
Mhm.
that's like a big thing because I think what hampers on authenticity and why like live music has become more important to me in trying to divorce myself from the mollifying effects of technology is that when you hear something as a digital file curated on an algo, you lose the sight of the fact that it took labor to make this. You
Mhm.
lose the sight of the actual work involved in creating something like this. And I think
Yeah.
that's the mindset that people have that allows them to like an AI song, right? It's like if
Mm.
music comes from nowhere, if there's no labor associated with it, then it's fine to like a laborless form of music.
Yeah. No, that's a very interesting point, and I think that like yeah, the music industry is somewhat set up that way now, where like we're sort of forced to give our stuff away for free, really.
Mhm.
Um, and I think that yeah, that serves nobody. Like it doesn't serve artists, obviously, that goes without saying, but it like doesn't serve audiences either. Yeah, I guess in that way, in terms of like if you're completely divorced from the process, or like no, like yeah, the reality that this is like art that takes labor to make. Um, yeah, what is your relationship to it, right? And the
Mhm.
value of it now. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's it. But the AI music thing, oh my gosh, yeah, that is such an interesting like.
Well, we all like the "We Are Charlie Kirk" song. They hit that one hit that one out of the
Yeah.
park. Um,
Oh gosh.
I mean, AI is so funny because uh, just like it's hard to articulate that sense of disgust that I have towards AI art. I mean, another example of a technology that I would be neutral on if it were not under this system, right? The idea of like a large language model to me is like inherently a neutral technology. And there are
Mm,
things that it can do, like help solve math equations and stuff like that I think
yeah.
are, useful to some
Hmm.
degree.
Sure.
But because it is trying to be because it comes under the auspices of this rapacious, eternal growth,
Hmm.
capitalist forever
Yeah.
mindset, it gets directed towards its most the thing that it shouldn't be directed towards, which is art. No, you need art is to for whatever, it's for a lot of purposes, but in my view it's to help cope with mortality, right? Why do you
Yes.
listen to
Yes.
something, or why do you feel anything? It's because you're gonna die, you idiot. You're
Yeah. Yeah.
gonna
Yeah. Yeah.
die, and
Yeah. Yeah.
you have to think about all the stuff that accompanies being a mortal being. Being
That's
a mortal
exactly
being
right.
informs your ability to feel that quote unquote authentic emotion, which is
Hmm.
why a lot of that grunge stuff lingers on death.
Hmm.
um,
Hmm.
and um, I do think you could get an AI to make art, but you'd have to like give it a life, and you'd have to like make it have a series of disappointments,
Oh my
and you'd
God.
have
Yeah. You'd
to,
have to tell it its life story, and it would
yeah.
have to be like complex and yeah. 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 Oh, I don't know
But
though.
yeah, the way it's constructed now is interesting because it's like it's done in a very inhuman way. A human does not scrape every piece of art and then forms a
Yeah.
composite of it. That's not how a human makes art.
Yes.
Which is why
No.
it comes across as uncanny.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah,
No, I know. I don't even know like where to start with the AI thing. It's so I mean, yeah, disgust is the right word I think you used. And also just like it just makes me nervous because once again, I like to think I tend to be like an optimistic person and I like to think that people will reject it, but then you look at some of these AI artists, if you can call them that, artist pages that exist on like Spotify, for example, and the monthly listenership, and
oh
you just
yeah,
think, wow, no, people are detached from even what like because it's an AI algorithm feeding it to them, and it's an AI bot creating it, and like I don't even know that people know that that's what's happening, and it's just like, oh, this sounds good, okay, great. So
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, you're an illustrator too. As what
I
would
am. Holy
is
shit!
that
I
the
better
word you
start
would
drawing.
use?
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So like, how do you must have feelings about it too in that sense, or I don't want to put
It's in. Well,
words
my
like that.
feelings about it is that so the thing that AI is most that is easiest to replicate is that sort of very indistinct music, that music that sounds like it was designed by a committee. That 10 years
Yeah.
ago, poptimists would be like, "Yeah, this is great. We shouldn't hold it against this type of thing." I mean, that's a whole other conversation. I agree with the sentiment of poptimism where it says that white critics were overly critical of queer and black genres
Mm,
to the detriment of overall music criticism. I
mm-hmm,
agree with that aspect of it. But the
mm-hmm.
idea that I have to accept, uh, I don't know, Megan Trainor as having this depth to her beyond just like the anthropological amusement of seeing
Yeah.
somebody do this sort of thing. But you
Mm-hmm.
have that very like extremely generic, or like Gracie Abrams, this like really generic sounding music that feels like it was specifically designed to get at the most ears possible, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I find that that's the music that AI tends to replicate. And I think that's
Yeah.
like a lot of people like that music. A lot of people don't
Mm-hmm.
see necessarily music as a vehicle to relate to or to help cope with mortality, but rather as, a consumption item, like
Yeah.
a night at axe throwing, or
Yes.
like
Oh gosh. Specifically.
this sort of like thing to kill time, right?
Yeah.
It's not this thing that gives you a sense of profundity, but rather this thing that distracts you, and its
Yeah.
major uh, tool is as a distraction.
No, you're so right, and I think that that's something I've like struggled to get my head around, not just with like very much with music, of course, but also with like all art because even like I don't know, I think about other fields of art of like photography for example, and it's like big brands are just creating AI campaigns. These are AI people in AI photos,
Hmm.
and for me that's disgusting. Like I
Yeah,
just like that is it's that's I don't want to see that, but I think perhaps, I don't know. I think to your point, like perhaps, I don't know. I have to get my head around the fact that that's just not the way everybody feels about it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I
I
don't know.
don't know.
You
It makes me
are you
nervous
on
about
dating
it.
apps? I'm on dating apps, and I see people, are like, I am INFJ, and I have, I shouldn't be mean to the Myers Briggs people, but
Oh man, I don't know what mine is. And no, I'm not on dating apps right now. I am
yeah,
not on dating apps.
they're
That's a whole
horrible.
other
I mean,
thing.
talk
Yeah, are they?
about, the alienation of people. Like you
Yeah.
swiping on them is like, and you ask yourself, do I even like people? Do I even like humanity? You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I never had like a terrible experience. I think I just was like, I don't want to date this way. Like, I don't think I'm gonna
Yeah,
meet like the love of my life. Not that I'm looking for that right now whatsoever, but like it's like I don't think that I'm gonna meet that person on this app. I don't know. I
yeah.
wasn't having I don't know. I've met some great people off apps though, don't get me wrong.
Oh yeah, me too.
Um, but I think it's like I think I don't know, again, it's like going back to that context thing. Like I think dating apps started to bum me out because I could feel my brain starting to like categorize people based on things that I wouldn't do in real life. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Like you're just making really quick judgments, whereas in person, like there's just you're getting the whole person. You're getting the
Hmm.
whole picture, and the judgment is therefore so much more in depth and based
Yeah,
on what, from my personal standards for myself, based on more of the right things. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Yeah.
As opposed to this like intense lookism that happens.
Yeah.
This or this, the people present a narrow slice of themselves, and you have to judge whether or not they're good people in 0.2 seconds, which is just
Hmm.
something that's inhuman.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not a good way to view people. But I
Yeah.
catch myself doing it anyway because I think the fun of dating apps is also just getting to reject people, being like, no,
Yeah.
no, no,
Just gamifying
yeah,
like human connection, which is
yeah.
crazy. I also think I'm not very good. I will admit this. I don't think I'm very good at marketing myself
Oh
for
yeah.
dating. Maybe for anything, honestly, even for music. It's like, what genre is your band? And I'm like, ooh, I don't know. I'm not great at the marketing side, which again feels like I'm saying that in a silly way. Like I think that
Hmm.
because that's disgusting to be
Yeah.
like, how do I market myself? Like, how do I
How do we become a
market
brand?
my
What's the
art?
Jacqueline Tucci brand?
Yeah, right. But it's like, with music, whether we like to admit it or not, like we can be like, fuck you, I'm not marketing my band. It's like, all right, well, yeah, you are,
Yeah,
and
no,
we
you
have
are. You're
to.
always that becomes
Yeah,
your marketing. Is that
yeah,
we're the band that doesn't
exactly.
market.
A
We're
hundred
we're
percent. Which
authentic.
a
We're
hundred
performing
percent.
authenticity. Yeah,
Yes, exactly. Which I think is also like, and that's totally fair. That's like one approach of many, right? But
yeah,
exactly to your point, that is the brand. But in a personal way, I'm like, oh man, I just don't think that I don't think I don't know. I don't know how to, I like, don't put my best foot forward on dating apps or something. I don't know.
yeah. No,
It's
I
hard
don't
to know how to
either.
do
I mean,
that.
it's like they'll ask me like, "What do you do for fun?" And I'll just put joke answers in, which is not the way to
Yeah,
market. I
yeah, yeah,
put like
yeah.
self-flagellation with a spiked bat, like
Yeah,
shit like
yeah.
that.
But I think that
Um,
stuff's funny, and I'm always doing that kind of thing too. And I'm like,
Yeah,
I don't
but
know.
it doesn't tend to get the people. Well, that's not true. Being on dating apps is having since transitioned, it's like um it's hard out there for men. These
Yeah,
things, because it's like um uh just literally I go on Bumble and I get like 1,000. If I turn men on like the preferences, I get
yeah,
thousands of things. Like I can't wait all of these. I wait
yeah,
through all
yeah,
of
yeah,
these.
yeah.
It feels like it's really stacked against you to develop any sort of relationship because of that
Because of the
overwhelming quality.
like the volume of
Yeah.
people on it.
Yeah, the volume of
Yeah.
people on it, and the fact that it incentivizes, in the hetero world, it incentivizes the men to be the initiators, so they just do that
Mm.
thing where they swipe left on everybody, and then once
Oh
they
yes.
finally get a match, they'll decide, which is another like
Yeah.
inhuman thing. I've had a thing where like I'll match with a guy, and then he reads the bio, and then he goes, "Ew, a tranny," and then unmatches
Oh
with me,
God.
which is,
Yeah. Oh my
who
God.
cares? I don't care.
Yeah.
This is,
Yeah.
I learned to deal with that sense of uh, depersonalization a while ago and reconcile the fact that this is just the way that this is set up. I didn't want to have to do that, but
Yeah.
here I am.
Yeah.
Um,
No, makes sense.
in order to preserve that sense of sanity.
Yes.
So in doing shows, like how, like are you doing a lot of shows recently, or
We haven't for the past couple months, but we play pretty steadily in Toronto, and I'd like to get out of the city. I've been thinking doing some strategizing through the summer on like
mhm,
the next phase of the band. I mean, it's hard as we all get older and everybody has obligations.
yeah,
But I yeah, we do. Yeah, we play pretty steadily around the city, and I have my spots where I love us to play because I know that there's always going to be good bands or the
yeah.
staff are good and they're good spaces and stuff.
What spots are those?
I love playing at the Handlebar in
They have such good
Kensington.
sound. I
They
love
have
their sound
incredible
there.
sound, just incredible people work there. It's a good community space where, like, you always get people who kind of like you get street foot traffic in the shows, which I
Yeah,
love. Obviously, I love when, our friends or people who like the band will come out, but it's so nice when there are people who just stumble upon your show.
yeah,
Yeah, so I'd say that's probably been my favorite place. I will say I'm excited to play at Dina's though. I never played the Silver Dollar. But obviously like tons of friends of mine. I've gone to so many shows there. So
yeah.
I've been there so many times and never played it. So and it's a beautiful little spot. I like what they've done with the place. So I'm
Absolutely,
excited.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it was just, burning a hole in the downtown, and I'm
Yeah.
glad to see it revived.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
oh, they
Same.
covered up the big silver dollar circle sign, and I'm like,
Yeah.
what are they going to do with that? Are they going to put Dina's Tavern on that? Because it's a beautiful sign. Can't they just call it the Silver Dollar Room again? Or like,
Yeah, I
is
don't
there a
know what that's all about.
proprietary
I'm
problem with
not
that?
sure. I'm not sure. Yeah. I don't know. There was an after hours place called Comfort Zone. God, around that area. And then now I've noticed that I'm like in bed way too early for that kind of thing these days. But,
Yeah.
it's been moved to Parkdale, I think. And I've noticed recently that there's a Silver Dollar Room sign. I'm like, did they just
Oh,
move the sign? Like, it's not the sign, but it was a sign. So I was like, I don't know. It's interesting where things end up around the city. But yeah, I
yeah.
don't know. I don't know why they like just a new ownership or whatever wanted to go in a new direction. I like
Yeah.
the rat branding of Dina's though. I
Yeah,
love
it's very
rats.
nice.
Yeah,
I
so
feel
I'm
like a
all for
big
that.
Midwestern rat. I mean, that's
You
why
feel
I
that
am
way?
well, it's why I'm Toronto all the way. Sometimes you entertain that idea of like, I'm going to move to Montreal because everyone there is
Mhm.
fashion and they're
Mhm.
cool and they like art a lot more. And then you get there and they are fashion, they are cooler, they
Yeah,
are
yeah,
art,
sure.
but there is a lack of self-effacement. There is a lack of that Toronto like we suck attitude,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
I this is why I can only live in Toronto because it has a humor to it.
It's
There's a
so true.
comic quality to it that you don't find with people that in Montreal it feels like a real city. This is
Yeah.
a real place where people in Toronto
Yeah.
it looks like an N64 game or something. There's like this
Yeah.
incomplete quality to it. There's this sort of waylay space in between worlds quality to it that gives you this isn't a real place. This is not really
Yes.
an actual place, which I
That's
think gives everyone a sense of humility.
That's so funny. I think it's so true. Like, I think Toronto has so much going for it. It's actually like a really cool city. I love living here, but we don't take ourselves too seriously in that sense, um, which I think is beautiful.
Yeah, I
And
mean
that's
it's
so
why what is our premier rock band? Like Rush, the goofiest band in the world,
real.
like
Yeah, yeah,
I love that,
yeah, yeah. I love
that
Rush.
if that
Yeah.
is the rock band that represent what is it? Is there another rock band that is like iconically Toronto? Or more
Um,
iconically Toronto than Rush?
More iconically Toronto than Rush?
Captures that.
Probably
Yeah.
not
Does
more.
does the band count? Because they played here, but I don't necessarily associate them with Toronto.
No, I think Rush is like our, our biggest maybe export. And
Yeah.
I think Rush captures it's exactly what you're describing.
Yeah.
Like they're a serious rock band. They're incredibly talented.
Oh
Come
yeah.
on, it's Rush,
But
but
they're
also
really
a little bit.
goofy. They're
Yeah,
super
exactly,
goofy. Yeah. So
exactly. Which I
their
think is
biggest album is
awesome.
a pun. It's moving pictures. It's like, it's a
Yeah,
pun.
yeah,
Um,
that's so good.
I always loved the sentiment of closer to the heart because, of course, they were also like Ayn Rand libertarians in the 70s
Mm-hmm.
as well, which is
Mm-hmm.
like they all discarded that, but it was a style with nerds at the time, and
Yes.
the message of closer to the heart is so funny to me because it's like, yes, there should be elites, but they should be super nice about it. They should they should be like,
Just so Canadian.
yes,
It
it's the
really is
most
like so
Canadian.
liberal
Yeah,
Canadian, isn't
yeah,
it?
yeah.
Like,
It's like,
yeah,
um, I would, if that was our national anthem, I would kill for that to be our national anthem. Um,
it probably should be.
yeah, or
Where
the
do we
Kids in the
submit
Hall
that?
theme song. I
Oh
think.
yeah, that's
Um,
like, but that's just a beautiful, yeah.
your first record that you put out on the Bandcamp, or the earliest one I can find, is a cover of Joy. Is that the first one?
It's the first one that's available on the internet. Yeah, I had put out some acoustic EPs before that, but I've since removed simply because the recordings were really bad and the
Yeah,
songs were, in my opinion, not all like some of them were not good, but you know, the songs were better than the recordings. So I'm like sitting on it and maybe one day, blah blah blah. But you never know. But
yeah.
yes, the earliest available thing would, yeah, I guess be that Joy Division cover. Yeah,
Yeah, it's Disorder, the
it
first track
is.
off of Unknown Pleasures,
Mm-hmm.
which I know from T-shirts. Uh,
Yeah, me too. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
what about that song spoke to you?
Um, it's just a beautiful song, isn't
It
it?
is, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I think like Joy Division is just a massive influence. Like not even again, it's not even necessarily a conscious thing, but just they work themselves into everything. That
Oh
I
yeah.
just love the space in the music. And like, even I think the cover I did, it's like kind of, if I recall, it's like me with I'm just palm muting through it and doing like a little riff, but like I think I
Hmm.
put so much reverb on everything.
Oh
Like I
yeah.
wanted to create tons of space. Um, and I think that they just did that so beautifully. And then again, like just another songwriter where like there's no faking anything in
Oh
that band.
yeah.
And again, I don't think that's not like a qualifier. I don't like I only listen to stuff where it's like they definitely are writing about real shit. It's like
Hmm.
I don't care. I was listening to like anyway. I'm not going to throw
No, no,
anyone
I
under the
under.
bus, but it's like
It's
I
very
listen to
hard to
everything. But like
articulate.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, I gravitate towards that kind of band. So
Yeah. Well, the word that I give for it is desperation. What
mm,
what differentiates someone like Ian Curtis, or the examples I always use are like Nina Simone or Nick Drake, where it's um this desperate quality. They're desperate to
yes,
communicate, and this is the only way they can actually communicate their feelings, right? And it's that quality that I think
yeah.
comes through in that music, where it's like there's this burning intensity of emotion that can only manifest in this specific way. And I'm trying to get to there. If I could be half as expressive or half as honest as Ian Curtis, I would be happy.
Yeah. Wow. You really articulate things so beautifully in ways that I just like can't. So
I
I
don't
just want to say,
know.
I think, no, you really do.
You're
Because
very
that is
sweet.
that is exactly, I think, what I seek in that type of thing. But maybe haven't put the words to in such a way. And I think it's also what draws me to making art. I think that I like to think I'm a decent communicator in my real life, and I try to be. It's something I work at, but I also, I think, have struggled in my life to like, I don't know, communicate. I don't know. I think that music is an avenue to like that desperation to just like I feel this way, and I want it to be. I don't know, maybe in some way hurt or something. And I think music has been an avenue for me, and um, and is been like the only way sometimes.
Yeah.
Even even in personal relationships, it's like, again, I like to think that I'm a decent communicator and I'm an honest person, and I put a lot of care and like effort into always improving in that sense. But it's like sometimes there's a song that comes out of a relationship that really says the thing that
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't quite say. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and I think my song "Fear" is like almost very much about that as well. Like
Mm-hmm.
I think there's like a line that is like I begged out for guidance, but I didn't know what for or whatever. And it's like
Mm-hmm.
it's that kind of like desperation thing of like, so
Oh yeah.
yeah, I think that's like pretty much it. Put your finger on it with the Joy Division thing.
Yeah. Freaking. And obviously, there is that terrible thought I had, like, when Chris Cornell, I was huge Cornell fan, talking about
Oh yeah.
grunge. I was massive
Mm.
Cornell fan,
Like
and
one of
all
the
of his
greatest rock
songs,
singers
yeah,
of all time. Yeah.
um, and all of his songs are about like suicide. There's like a bunch of
Yeah.
songs that's like, I'm really gonna do it, I'm really
Yeah.
gonna do it, and it's
Yeah.
like eventually you're like, as a result of what happened, you're like, damn, he fucking meant it. He
Yeah.
meant
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Which isn't, don't kill yourself. Don't kill yourself to prove you're an artist. It's
No,
not
I
worth
would
it.
love that to be the one takeaway of this. It's like
Yes.
that's not something we got to do.
Yeah. Well, I think that is like, I think that is something you have to consider, because usually when you're an artist, it's because you're besought by these like deep, uncontrollable feelings constantly, which is why you need
Hmm.
to externalize them in
Hmm.
art.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do you not let those feelings take over is a big question.
Yes, exactly. And I think now that I'm 32 now, so I have like a bit of I've had, a bit of time to try to sort through it, and I always am still doing that. But for me, it's like songwriting has been the constant, and now I run too.
And now you
So those are
run.
my things. Yeah, they're both, it's the 1-2 punch. It's the
Um,
cocktail.
Do you relate running to, or just because in my 30s, I got into like being more athletic, just more because
Yeah.
my, I heard my joints starting to creak, and it was like,
Yep. Yeah.
I've let this go too long. So,
Yes.
um, but I've applied that athletic, or that sense of athleticism or admiration of athleticism, which I didn't have before. I
Hmm.
wasn't into sports basically until last year when the Jays started
Awesome. Yeah.
winning.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I bandwagoned myself, and now I'm a
Yeah. Me too.
162 game sicko. You know,
Oh wow.
um,
Yeah. No, I am not that dedicated. I also jumped on the bandwagon, but haven't been as consistent. Respect.
yeah. Now I care about like now I care about barrel rate and shit like that.
See, and I don't even know what that means, so I'm
Uh,
just a total fake
it's
fraud.
hitting a ball. It's when you hit a ball at a certain angle at a certain velocity in
Oh
order to get
wow.
it at the optimal rate. I believe it's
Oh.
between 25 and 30 degrees.
See,
At
and that's the kind of stuff I love. Like I
Yeah,
am very like if you're gonna get into something, like you got to be talking velocity and
yeah,
optimal rates. But um yeah, no, but I guess the question was, do I relate like the running to
yeah. The
the art?
music. Yeah.
100%. I actually think so. I've always loved sports. Like I grew up playing hockey, and I was really into sports before I was even into the arts when I was like a little kid and stuff. And I've always done them in both.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's so many parallels between, not that I'm considering myself an athlete by any means, but there are huge parallels between athletes and artists.
Mm-hmm.
Just in terms of like the self discipline, and I think there's self expression in both,
Oh yeah.
um, and also the release. Like I think both are good for your health. Both are
Mm-hmm.
very important parts of being a healthy person and keeping your head on right. For me, anyway.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Situating yourself within a body, becoming a physical
Mm-hmm.
entity as opposed to this, ethereal computer version of yourself, right?
100%. And honestly, it's like, yeah, I think that is also probably a huge part of it. Like when I'm running or doing like a fitness class or something, it's like those are some of the only times where I'm like fully unplugged. A lot of my runs, I call them dopamine detoxes, which is kind of a stupid thing to say because running is like very much a dopamine based activity. But I'm talking about digital
Yeah.
detoxing. I just, whatever. And I'll go out and like no music, no, just nothing, just no
Yeah.
headphones on, and just run. And it's become an extremely important part of my life and I would say my health. So, yeah,
No, no, that's
yeah,
like I do the same thing. Not necessarily with running, but like the
yeah.
just noticing shit around you
Hmm.
thing,
Hmm. Hmm.
is has been uh I'm always like it's funny how you get older and you realize all the stuff they said about being healthy is like, all this it's bullshit is true,
I know that's the worst when you're like, fuck, they were right.
fuck, God, I should eat
Yeah,
my fucking vegetables.
I
Fuck,
know.
God damn it.
Fuck.
I do feel much better when I've had fiber in my diet.
100%. And sleep.
And
That's been the
sleep, oh my
biggest thing.
god. But
Yeah.
also, like, one of the things that I think people take for granted is how good meditation is for the old
Oh my
brain.
gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree. That's been another thing that has been like weirdly, I've become one of those like almost annoying people over the past couple of years where I'm like, I run and now I go to bed earlier and get up earlier and
Yeah.
I think meditation is great for you. Um, but it all is though. I mean, like, different things for different people and obviously it's like immensely privileged to be like everyone like, to be able to do all these things, but I think like for me, it has all been so important. Meditation, complete. Like I don't. What kind of what are you doing? What do
Well,
you
I so
regularly do?
I had like it's similar to what you described while running, where I
Hmm.
think you have to find a form of meditation that works
Hmm.
for you, right? Because I
Right.
tried to do like TM, the whole transcendental
Yes.
thing, which
Yes.
the history of that is fraught. I love David
Yeah.
Lynch.
Oh my gosh.
Maharishi was a weird guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. But I just read Catching the Big Fish like
Yeah.
in the winter. And I went down such a rabbit hole with the transcendental meditation thing. I agree, and I think for me, I came to the place of like, I don't know if I need to do something that is so organized in that way. But
Yeah.
anyway, sorry,
Well,
to go
no,
back to what
well,
you were saying.
the I tried to do it for a while because I tried like, okay, the centering yourself, the
Hmm.
mantra repetition
Yes, the
is the
idea of it, I think, is
major.
incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the major way. But I could mantra repetition. I would just get like bored and
Mm-hmm.
inevitably distracted. So it
Yeah.
wasn't the most helpful way of situating myself in the present. And so
Hmm.
now what I do is I took a page out of like John Cage's 433, where
Mm.
what you're doing when running is that you listen to the ambient noise around you as if it were a piece being composed for you and only you spontaneously, and you
Yeah,
give it
it's so
that same
beautiful.
weight that you would give a piece of art that you're doing some deep listening to, a piece of music that you're doing deep listening to. And I call it the symphony. And it's like you start noticing
So
like the
beautiful.
fine detail of like bird calls and lawnmowers in the distance, or
Yeah.
like people shouting in the distance, or footsteps. And it all becomes part of this thing. It all becomes part of this understanding context and situating
Yes.
yourself within the context of space and geography, and very much against the contextless nature of the online world.
Yeah. No, that is so lovely and that is so healthy. I think that is actually just so important to do. Just take in. Yeah, I love the symphony. Take in the symphony.
Yeah.
But not just like, yeah, like all the time try to do that, but also carving out those very intentional blocks of like this is what I'm doing.
Mhm.
I think that's just, yeah, so important.
Yeah.
It's great.
I need Vyvanse for that. I got on my Vyvanse prescription,
Yeah.
and it's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's pretty good, I gotta
How
say.
has it helped you? I mean, as an artist
It's
or just as a person too?
I don't want to say it's like a be all and end all drug, because
Hmm.
it's complicated and it does
Yeah, of
lose
course.
efficacy after a while. And you'll have people saying like, "Is this how normal people feel?" Is nah, not really. You're on medication, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, it does really destroy that, like I have an anxiety problem where I'm just constantly living unstuck in time like Billy Pilgrim. So I'm either like
Mhm.
dwelling on regrets from my past, or I'm thinking about the terrifying future that lays ahead.
Mhm.
And so I'm just really not where I am right now. My
Yeah.
spirit has been decoupled from my actual physical form.
Yeah.
So, and I think the medicine really helps with, stuffing your spirit back into your current physical form and helping you ask that question. Okay, what am I doing now?
Yeah.
What is the task at hand?
I think that's incredible. Like whatever can help you do that, I think
Yeah.
is like
And
so
they're
great.
because I don't want to talk it up too much as like a miracle
No, no, no.
medication
Yeah.
thing, because it's,
Yeah.
the same way with any brain medication like SSRIs, is there are drawbacks and
Of
there
course.
are issues with, you can get used to it after a while and it loses efficacy.
Right.
But as long as, you have that in the back of your head and you're using it medicinally and responsibly, I think it can really help.
Of course, yeah. And then the meditation I guess came as a result of like being able to be more present
Oh, I was doing that
and
before
oh,
when I
you
was
were.
still
Okay.
raw dogging everything, and
Raw
it
dog
was
in
a
life.
very effective way. Yeah, to
Yeah.
to use that old Jabuki tweet.
Yeah, yeah. Exactly.
And yeah, no, it can be helpful.
Yeah.
And I won't go so far as to say like this is a life changing thing, but it
Mhm.
definitely has aided me in not
Yeah.
living in the terrible, untenable future.
Yeah. Which is beautiful. I think we all have to find whatever that thing is for us, you know?
Hmm.
Um, and that's the thing. Like I agree. Like I don't, I'm not one to be like everyone should do this thing because it has worked for me. Like I
Hmm.
think obviously if I'm doing things, it's because I think they're the right thing to do or whatever. But mostly that's because they work for me.
Hmm.
It's like diet too. Like I've been vegetarian, for example, for like 20 years this year, and I've been
Cool.
vegan for not a long time, but like trying the vegan thing on and off so like
Yeah.
but really
It's
trying
hard
to
to
do
get
that.
rid of cheese. It's hard to get rid of that cheese.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, honestly, cheese is not is like it would. Yeah, if someone brought out a good cheese board, that would be like that's a
A
challenge. But I
test of
think,
your
but I
metal.
would be yes, but I would be able to do it. But just moving through the world isn't
Oh
like set
yeah.
up per se for that. But yeah, it's like and it has been like tremendously healthy for me.
Hmm.
And I think, in many ways, I'm like, this is the right thing to do because I'm doing it because I think that. But at the end of the day, like, I don't necessarily think everyone needs to do that. It's like find your things
Yeah.
that are those things to you.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm a meat eater, and it's
Hmm.
another thing where, I mean, this is like, get into a whole host of disagreement that I've had with people, because
I'm not gonna
some
fight
people,
you on it. Don't worry.
well, no, no, it's not. It's that, for me, I think the vegans are correct, but from
Mm.
where I stand is the idea that under capitalism, it's the production of meat is untenable and
That's yeah, yeah. Well, yeah,
environmentally disastrous. Not because I think that eating animals is inherently in and of itself incorrect, but that's a whole can of worms. That's
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah. Like,
that's
but it
very
goes.
up to debate. I don't think that's a settled
Yes.
issue,
No, no,
and I don't think I'm
no.
right on that.
No, but I think that that's like, of course, but it brings up a fair point because, like, I think I could never speak for all vegetarians or whatever, but I think for me, like, there are very clear distinctions between people who are like, you know, hunting their own food to feed their families or their communities, whether because that's cultural or geographical or whatever. Um, that is so different to me
Yeah.
from exactly what I am essentially protesting through vegetarianism, which is like the industrialization of like, you know, meat.
Yeah.
So,
Which
so
is
I think
not.
it's very fair to point out though,
Yeah.
like,
I mean, I
yeah.
don't want to say that people that like um don't eat meat because they have this inherent empathy for animals and believe that, if something has a soul, whatever that means, or something that
Mm,
is capable of emotion or
yeah, yeah,
affection or has that level of sapience,
yeah.
it's wrong to kill them in any way.
Hmm.
And I think that is uh, compelling, and I think that is it's not that it's wrong. It's just, it's the I think you need some sort of axiomatic value that allows you to fully
Yeah.
invest yourself in an idea,
Hmm.
which is something that I don't
A hundred
necessarily have.
percent. And I think
But that
that's
might change, you know?
of course. Well,
Yeah.
exactly. And like anything can change. I think like for me, that is a part of it. Like I'm like, I live in a city where it is for me, my specific lifestyle, my specific um, diet, and like what I cook and what I eat. Like it's easy for me to not eat meat, and I
Hmm.
think for me it's like the right thing to do. So whatever, that's part of it. Is like I have empathy for animals. I don't want to eat them. Okay, great. But do I think that like everybody should feel that way or live that way? It's like I could not possibly impose that on everybody because everyone's coming from somewhere, right? Everyone's
Hmm.
coming from standing in a different place, looking at it differently.
Yeah.
So that's that. Like I said, I wouldn't fight you on that. But
Well, that's the other thing I
I
have,
wouldn't fight you on anything. But
yeah, it's fun. No, come on. Let's throw
you've
down.
been
It'll be
agreeing too
good.
much. Let's
We'll
fight.
promote it. Yeah, no, let's get into the nitty-gritty here.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it's also like the other reason I don't have takes online. I used to have takes online,
Oh
and I
yeah.
realized, oh, this is just unproductive. This is not a conversation. This is
Yes.
people wanting to
Exactly.
find reasons to hate each other and not being
Hmm.
charitable. And
Hmm.
I think, when you're talking about stuff like this, you should take a position that's informed by your experience and your accumulated knowledge,
Right.
but also um, save the space for differing opinions if those
Right.
opinions, fall within a realm of reasonableness and they're not
Yeah.
arguing in bad faith or they're not outright trying to hostilely destroy you. I think you could
Yeah.
entertain
It's
a
just
lot
so
of
hard
those.
online to not go into that territory so quickly. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Well, because everybody wants attention or they want to feel like they've done something without having done anything. So, like,
mm,
reprimanding somebody who's problematic in the moment can feel as if you've done something when in
yeah.
fact you've done nothing. Um,
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And yeah. And it's like, are we making the world better by doing that? I don't
we're
necessarily
making
know.
us feel good in the moment,
Yeah.
but here's now I'm taking a position, which is like,
Mm,
and I think most people that use like apps like Twitter for the catharsis of just saying "fuck you" to somebody, sort
mm,
of,
hmm.
I think they sort of acknowledge that this isn't a panacea. But I do see, especially with young people that do feel as if they're doing some sort of activism or fighting against their own sense of powerlessness
Hmm.
by, forming these spontaneous lol cows, or these people that
Yeah.
they can torture for not fitting some sort of social norm right away.
Mm, hmm.
And I think a lot of people grow out of it because eventually you gain the fear that that will be turned against you one day, which
Yeah.
is, I think that's what motivates me to not participate in that. Because it's like, well, if I do it to one person, then I'm really saying it's okay to do it to me. If I
Mm,
say something that I didn't know was untenable or some sort of social faux pas or some sort of ethical boundary, and
yeah. But and I think exactly, and I think that that's like, not even just speaking on this particular thing, but in general, like the way that I want to move through my life is like everything I do is contributing to like society in some way, and I would like to contribute to the kind of society I want to live in, right? So my actions
Mhm.
have to reflect the type of society I want to live in. Not saying that my actions alone are going to create that or not create that, but what else can you
A
do?
thousand years of Tucci,
Which we wouldn't
brave
wish
leader
on anyone.
Tucci, brave leader Jacqueline Tucci.
Yeah.
Well, there is that other thought. It was like I say, no one should believe what I believe in, but I think there are some things that people should believe what I believe. Like, um, there's some I have like I don't have that many hard political opinions, but the
Yeah.
ones I tend to go for with absolute certainty. Like anti-Zionism, for
Yeah.
example. It's like I think if you're a Zionist, fuck you, fuck off.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
That is the wrong position. You have been
Yes.
given you have been given the clearest, good and evil are loaded terms, and you hesitate to use them because they're not nuanced, but you have been given the clearest example of good and evil you will ever get in your life. And the people still fail on that because, they're, um, tricked into believing that anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism or something,
Yeah.
and that ends up
Yeah.
stun locking them.
Yes, I think a lot of people are afraid to misspeak on that or to misstep on that. But I totally agree with you. I'm like, at this point, it's like we know that those two things are not the same. And there's no, in my mind, debate on, like, there's no position to be had. There's just a clear right and wrong, you
Yeah.
know?
In
But
terms of like, or I do think like, and another, I mean, hard positions that I do have that I think, well, maybe it would be better if everyone thought this way is, of course, the meat industry is environmentally unfeasible. And,
hmm
of course, it should be pared down and regulated more. And,
hmm
but, in terms of like the moral axioms that undergird one's veganism, those aren't necessarily settled issues, right? Because once again, they're axioms. They come from things that you cannot necessarily prove, but you take as moral truisms.
yes,
Like
and
if
are
you,
informed by everything in our
yeah.
lives and where we come from and, what we've experienced and whatever. So,
Um, I was thinking about like, what's the song where you're talking about close my eyes, shut my mouth? That one.
oh, Sweeter Things, I think
That's
is
Sweeter
they're
Things.
referring to
I
the
really
bridge of the
like that
song.
one. That
Yeah.
one's really like was that about like a relationship gone wrong or something like that?
Um, no. So now I'm like, maybe it wasn't Sweeter Things. Sweeter Things was kind of a I don't know. I guess it was like somewhat political for me when I was like 22, Like it was
Okay.
very like I think I felt a lot of pressure maybe at that time to like conform to a certain thing, to be like, is that what we're talking about, of like this marketable thing or whatever. And
Yeah.
that was kind of like I don't know, like a fuck you to that. But yeah, or like how people maybe expect you to be or want you to be, and trying to carve a different path for yourself or a different life for yourself, and some of the judgments or pressures, whether they exist or not. Maybe like looking back, it's like probably a lot of that stuff is self created and self imposed. You know what I mean? But yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I
but
do
and I
think
do.
there is. Well, was
Sorry.
it like a pressure to be like an Addison Rae type or something like
Yeah,
that?
like it's exactly like that kind of thing, or like obviously like I don't know, like I just I don't fit a lot of the conventional norms, like very I don't know, or I don't, yeah, I think so. It's somewhat about that, just feeling these pressures to like fall in line or to be a certain way, or even I think also like a large it was largely about like what I wanted to write about in my
Yeah.
music, and feeling a bit of pressure around that. Like I have written about relationships, of course, like anyone else, but
Yeah.
it's not really what I care about to write about, Like those
Yeah.
songs exist, they come from me because sometimes that's what I'm going through, Like sometimes I'm going through a breakup, sometimes I'm in love. So those
Yeah.
songs come out, but it's not really what I want to do, or what I think is like most fulfilling for me to write about.
Yeah. So the person you're addressing in that song is not like based on a person that was
No.
denigrating towards you, but rather like a general patriarchal
Yeah, it's kind
figure
of
of pressure.
exactly, and it's
Yeah,
kind of like a snarky, sarcastic song.
yeah,
Like I think at the opening of it is like it's unbecoming of a woman of my age. It's like obviously that is not like me saying that it is. That is
yeah,
like me like having a laugh.
hmm
So yeah, yeah,
yeah. Do you think that is like in your journey of like developing confidence? Do you think that's like a major factor? How this you do get pressure to take on these more stereotypically uh, feminine things that society rewards, and you're pushed towards that, and developing confidence was sort of feeling
yeah.
comfortable enough to deny that to your not deny but to
Yeah. No,
not
I'd say
make that
deny.
part of you. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, fully. I think like now at my age, it's funny, like I wrote that song 10 years ago, and like that's kid
Oh
me,
yeah, when you're
as a
22, it's
person.
like you're just no one yet.
Right,
You're really
exactly.
uncertain and
Yeah,
you're
and I
yeah.
hadn't dipped my toes into like being like, how are people, or like how is this going to be perceived, or and like I again, it's like that young person's thing of like preempting some sort of like opinion, but then that opinion like didn't really come. I mean, obviously, like the pressures of society exist, and some of them get even worse as you age. But no, I at this point, I'm like, this is who I am, unapologetically so, and you know, I don't think I struggle with that kind of thing as much. And if those opinions and pressures still exist, I'm not fucking listening. So,
Yeah. I
yeah.
mean that's like the sort of developing that confidence, that same sense of confidence has been my journey as well. Obviously,
Hmm.
transition really helped
Yeah,
with that
yeah,
in a
yeah,
lot of ways.
absolutely.
And but I'm always trying to, whenever I talk to like 20 somethings, because inevitably you enter your 30s, like 20 somethings will just come up to you like looking for advice. It's like, I don't fucking know.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
yeah, yeah,
but
yeah. I'll let you know when I figure it out.
yeah, but
Yeah.
you do, just by virtue of having more experience and having made more mistakes, you do end up rendering, some advice about how to develop that sense of that I am comfortable with expressing my ideas and believing that they have value.
Hmm.
What
Hmm.
would you say to young people listening to this whose brains have been obliterated by COVID and slop and this sort of depersonalization of the internet? What would you say to them to see them build up their confidence?
Oh, geez. I mean, I would like to think that I had something of value to share with them, but I don't know. But I think just you gotta get out there, have all the experiences you can, take in all the art that you can, meet all of the people that you can, and see what sticks. See what you genuinely feel lit up by. See what genuinely moves you, or what really is fun.
Yeah.
Um, and over time, I think that's how you figure out who you are, and that's how you build your own personal taste and your opinions and your views on the world and how to move through it and do your best. And I think you're all gonna be okay.
Yeah.
You just gotta one foot in front of the other, get out there, and like I said, yeah, just take in everything that you can. Take the
Yeah.
opportunities.
I found that one of my major obstacles to getting out there was this sort of like, Cinema Sins, that YouTube channel.
No, I'm not
There
familiar.
was a YouTube channel, and its major bread and butter was it would have like these numerous, very shallow criticisms of a movie, and
Okay.
it sort of puts you in the mindset of like everything sucks,
Yeah.
everything fucking nothing is good because it can all be
Mm.
picked apart. And I found that I had a lot of that mindset. I
Mhm.
was like didn't see the value in a lot of stuff because there was always this sense that it was imperfect or not great in some way, and thus it
Yeah.
didn't
Yeah.
deserve my attention. And the second, I turned my mind away from judgment and more towards curiosity, you
Mm.
know,
Mhm.
more towards not being afraid of people or not being anticipating that people would be inadequate when I actually
Yeah.
interacted with them. I found myself willing to go out a
Yeah.
lot more.
Yeah, no, I think that's totally true. And I've had that experience too. And I think that it is important that we reject cynicism in that way. And I think that that doesn't mean that we don't not like things sometimes. But
Hmm.
I think that also is part of building who you are and how you move through the world, like I said, because I think, just taking things in and saying like, did I like this or not? And why? It's okay to then say no, I didn't, and here's why. But that's so different than just preempting that everything sucks and
Hmm.
everybody you meet is going to suck or not accept you. Some people might not, like, that is actually true, but they're not for you. Like,
Yeah.
I always say this about myself, like, I'm not for everybody, but I'm for anybody who I'd want to have around anyway. You know what I mean? So it's like I think that that's part of it too, is just like, you know, you will find the community, and you will find the things that you genuinely like if you're open to like the scope of it, you know, to most things.
Well, I think that's a very good place to end. And Jacqueline, do you have any plugs other than the show on August 12th at Dina's
Yes,
Tavern?
the show at August 12th at Dina's Tavern. That's the most important plug. No, I mean, yeah, we play shows pretty often in the city, hopefully more cities at some point. The best way to keep track of that is following my Instagram, which is just Jacqueline Tucci. Yeah, that's it. And we're gonna have new music this year, so like hopefully soon. So that is pretty much the central place to keep track of everything. And but come out to our shows. We love to play shows. I love to meet people. So yeah.
Hell yeah. Thank you so much for coming on, Jacqueline.
Thanks so much for having me. This was a great conversation. You're excellent at what you do.
No. You're excellent. Fuck you. You're excellent. Okay.
Our first fight.
No. All right. Bye, everyone.
Right, thank you so much.
House of Decline is brought to you by members of our $10 Patreon tier. These include Fiat Lux, Jody Shen, Daniel Stern, Stephen Pikelny, Miles Forrester, Big Fan of Noise, TC, Karibo Shu, Garf Dude, Leslie Adams, LJ Amber, Jordan Rabe, Lily Livingston, Niraj Kumar, Grant Williams, Trungles, Peter Romine, Janelle, Grace Under Fiero, Champ Champenstein, Michael Shelton, Junie V, Claire Brown, Vivi Ingram, Bird, Colin McLeod, Alex Kahn, OnlyFans, Extra Leopards, Nick Cortese, Katie Lacey, Jack Steiner, Tessa, Teresa Boxleiter, Kate, Stephen Wilshire. And those are the wonderful people. You too can become a wonderful person. You too can have your name read by a weirdo. That's me. I'm the weirdo. I'm not that weird. I'm a little weird.